If you can now mute yourselves and come in if you need to ask a question, that's obviously allowed, yeah? Make sure you're paying attention to me. We're going over section B. You can also switch off your videos and pay attention. Then it'll be a less glitchy video when I upload it to YouTube, so you could look at it at a more leisurely pace. So okay, there it is. That's our Venn diagrams from before. Section B is about to hit. I've got to reduce it so you can see what's going on. There was nothing wrong with you guys just doing this on lined paper, honestly, and then sending me photos and then putting it as a PDF document. So everyone did this really well. I did a little box equal to 2 races. So egg and spoon 18. I did 9 little boxes. A 3-legged race, 20 students, 10 little boxes, but it's 3 marks. And one of you didn't show a scale, so you lost that mark. You've got to show a scale, otherwise you have to assume the examiner knows what you mean by a little box. So it's 3 marks. It's not difficult. This was badly done, in as far as if you try to do it using technology, I couldn't mark it because I don't want a machine to do the angles for you. I want you to do a pie chart either on this paper directly or on another piece of paper, then just upload it to me and I could mark. And I can see your little dots. That's what I'm looking for, really. If you got these calculations right, you got 2 marks straight away. If you got this right, you got the other 2 marks. So it's 4 marks in total, but if you just did that bit, then you got 2. Of course, if you didn't do this because, Harrison, you didn't have a protractor again, then it's your fault, you're just careless. You can see my little dots, a little line there, there's a little line there, and a tiny little line there. I don't know if you can see that, but it's there. So I actually used a protractor. What was that, Harrison?
I did have a protractor, sir.
You didn't do this question, though?
I did.
All right. Sure? I can check back. So here's question 2. Here's question 2. Again, it's quite difficult to draw a line of best fit and show where that is if you're trying to do this electronically rather than physically on the grid. But that's Jeff doing lessons. It's a scatter diagram. One of the points that's wrong is that one. Clearly, it's away from the main point, the line is best fit, but you have to give the reason, and the reason is just one word: it's an outlier. I was really testing your ability to write the word outlier. Now, some of you took such bad photos that I couldn't read the word outlier. I think one of you guys, I saw the word OU, that's all I could see. And I know you probably wrote outlier, but I'm marking evidence rather than having a guess. So I'm afraid, Akshan, I think it was you lost that mark. So be normal, put your camera on top of the page, just take your time with the photos, otherwise there is no marking. Line of best fit, well, I'm very generous with how you do that. This is the difficult thing that nobody got right. You might have got the answer right, but if there's no evidence, then I don't give any marks. So Jeff already has failed his driving test 3 times after a total of 40 driving lessons. So 3 times 40 driving lessons, 3 times 40 driving lessons. Now, even though 3 and 40 don't exactly line up, that doesn't matter. It does say how many more driving lessons do you need for Jeff to pass if you can try it on the 4th attempt. What you do is go up from 4 on your scatter diagram, hit your line of best fit and turn left. Now on my one, that's about 58. He doesn't need 58 more lessons, he must need 18 more lessons after failing the test on the 3rd go. So he's done 40, let him do another 18 lessons. But here's the evidence, yeah? Up, hit your line, turn left. 3 marks for that. Draw lines on the diagram. I always get you to show your evidence. If you don't do it, you lose marks. And then if you read it correctly off your line of best fit, not mine, your own one, you'd still get a mark. Then a little calculation, but a number on its own, don't ask for any marks. What do we got here? This was well done. a Year 8 student. These are his unit math scores. A bit like I invented this question because I know we did 6 units of work and 6 assessments out of 30. So calculate the percentage recorded in his highest score. Well, his highest score was 27, and it's 27 out of 30, 1 mark, times 100, 2 marks, because that's showing you method, and 90%, of course, that is your 3 marks. Ignore that. I would never give 3 marks for that anymore. I need to see steps. The range of scores, well, the biggest is 27, the smallest is 16, and that gives us a spread of 11 marks. 1 for the method, 1 for the marking. The mean, well, add them all up with your calculator, of course, get a total of 128, divided by 6 scores, because there's 6 units assessments, and get the answer of 21.3. If you wrote 21, I'd have to mark it wrong, because you still think in your head it's got to be a whole number answer. It doesn't, you know, this is means, it doesn't give you whole number answers necessarily. So 21.3 is what I'm looking for, but not just 21. His median score. Well, it's already arranged in order. Well, that's not arranged in order, is it? So let's go with 16, 18, 19. Basically, I've written them all in order. Here we are. And the middle is between 19 and 23. Many of you showed that beautifully. It was lovely to see that. So you get a mark for ordering it, if you order it right, of course. Of course, if you forget to order it, you can't get it right. And yep.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah, is that you, Stella?
You know on 3A and B,
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, never mind.
Come up.
All right. So here it is. Between 19 and 23, we've got exactly 21. So there's your 2 marks for that. Okay, this is going to get more tricky. This was not bad. I was impressed by those of you who got all 6 marks. It's brilliant. Right, his friend scored a mean of 21 exactly. I suppose Mark did slightly better on average. And his friend had a range of 7 marks, which is more consistent than Mark's 11. Is it Mark, his name? Yeah, Mark's 11 marks. So this is what I wrote. So Mark and his friend did equally well on average, because I didn't see much difference between 21 and 21.3. You could say Mark did slightly better on average, but I'm not that convinced with 0.3. So they generally did okay, equally well on average. But the big one is this: Mark's friend was more consistent in his scores because his spread of results was much narrower. You could, of course, have said Mark's results were less consistent because he had a wider range, something like that. This is the one I really was interested in. So Mark wanted to take a Year 9 extension test. Okay, well done, Mark. In which he scored 6 marks. And this was included with his other tests. Now, discuss with calculations. I've got some calculations. I didn't get any discussion, though. We want to see the impact of results on the median, the mean, and the range. So what I did was to first write down all my Year 8 tests, you know, his median, mean, range, and then do exactly the same calculations, including the 6 marks on the total of the 128, this time dividing by 7. Did I do the calculations? I did it, but I didn't show them. I just got the answers down. So really, for median, you've got to arrange it in order and pick the middle one. That's exactly 19. For the mean, you add an extra 6 onto the 128 and divide by 7. And for the median, you put the 6 at the end, and I think 19 is going to be right in the middle, I think. Yes, it is. So now, see, I've compared them side by side. You didn't need to do a table, but I found it easy to do it that way. So I'm only going to give you marks in the conclusions if these numbers are correct. So the median score was lower. Yeah, median was lower than that. The mean score was lower. Yes, it was. And the range was a lot greater, because his range now is going to be his biggest score, which was How big was his biggest score? 27 take away 6. That's a spread of 21. So again, there's a lot of maths there, but I did give a lot of marks for it. 3 marks for the calculations. Since I know you can calculate median, mean and range anyway, I wasn't really testing anything new, but I had to give you credit for doing these 3 extra little steps. And of course a mark for each sensible statement. As a means of good practice, you should really have a sentence for each one. Otherwise, you might garble your thinking. You might mix median and range, mean and range. If you keep a separate statement, mean was lower, the median was lower, the range was greater. You know, just got to say it separately. If you try and do it as a little paragraph, you might just trip up in your thinking. So 30 children. And they're scoring goals in a competition of some sort. 14 children didn't score any goals at all. 10 children scored a goal, etc. Nobody scored 3 goals. What is the most common number of goals? The most common number of goals scored is 0, because 14 is the majority of the students and the majority did not score. The mode is not 14. This is just a frequency. All right. So the most number of students who scored no goals is these 14 of them actually, but the answer is not 14, the answer is 0. The median number of goals. Well, okay, I've got 30 children. I'm looking for the 15th to 16th child and see what score he got. Well, the first 14 children didn't score. The next 10, which means I'm up to 24 students now, the 15th and 16th child is in that list somewhere, and that person scored a goal. Okay, you can write down the side, 14, 24, 29, 29, 30. You can write it down the side if you want to have a running total or cumulative frequency, but that's how I taught it in class. So it's 0 and 1. Work out the mean. Well, you got this nice little blank table for a reason. That's to help you to find it. 0 times 14 is no goals. 1 lots of 10 is 10, etc. You do this correctly, you get 24 goals scored in total. That gets a mark. If you divide by 30 children, that's a technique, that gets a mark. If you wrote down 0.8 goals, you get your 3rd mark, but not a whole goal. Because again, means don't always produce whole numbers. And I know you can't have 0.8 of a goal, and I know you round it up to 1 to get like a goal, but it's far too inaccurate. So it's 0.8 goals on average. And here's the big one. Lots of marks for this. There is a blank table there because it's designed to help you to do this question correctly. It's exactly like we did on the video in class. We got the mean of group data. So get the midpoints right, and it's an easy one. Between 5 and 15 is exactly 10. Between 15 and 20, you've got exactly 20 meters of height. These are big plants. 50 odd meters of height. That's mega trees. Anyway, so use the table to help you calculate an estimate of the mean. The reason it's an estimate, remember, is because we have to use the midpoints. We have to assume that these 6 are exactly 10 meters tall. These 12 are exactly 20 meters tall, for example. And so you multiply the frequency times the midpoint. So the total height of all the trees is 730 meters. Of course, if you made a numerical error, that will cost you something. So 2 marks for that, because obviously you've got to do all this calculation and get the correct total. So the total height of all the trees is 730. And we're told there are 30 trees. If you don't believe it, you need to add this little lot up anyway. So the mean height of those 30 trees is 24.3 meters. Now, I didn't give a mark for meters, it's too cheap. It's got meters in the table, so there's no point giving a 5th mark for that. And that's it. Grade 4 GCSE. The most common height, in which class is the most common height? Well, most trees were between 15 and 25 meters. Well, 15, but just under 25 meters. And the median, well, that's the hardest one to find actually. The middle guy is the 15th tree, between 15 and 16. Well, these are the first 6 smallest. 6 and 12 is takes up to the 18th tree. So the 15th and 16th tree has got to be in this second class or category here. Hence the median is 15 to under 25s. That's why it is. The range of height is easy. 5 is definitely possible. Not strictly 55, but it can be 54.999, whatever. So, 55 take away 5 is acceptable. If you went 50 take away 55, you came right back into the midpoint, and there could well have been one of these two trees very, very, very close to 55. We don't know, but assume 55 and definitely take the 5. That gives us a spread of 50 meters.